right when we started if there was a little bit of a lag.
Okay. How about this?
Maybe.
I think they'll be able to hear us now. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling pretty confident they'll be able to hear us. Yes.
Oh,
So guys, if you're just not coming in, huh? You still can't hear?
That's what they're saying is still can't hear.
Oh, wow. It's showing from Barcast as if it is able to. Maybe it's just because of the lag.
I think it's all good. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, it's all good. It's all good. Guys, if you're just not coming in, thank you for being here. This is going to be time well spent. We're talking about how to grow and build trust because my networkers told me that they want to see more of this. They want to see more of this in their business. They want to see more of this with the people they work with. I'm sure everywhere. And so I will just pose this back out to you, Brian. What are you seeing from your end? Are you seeing the same thing as far as trust? More people wanting to see more of that?
Yeah. It's funny that you did a survey on trust. I did a survey on trust as well. Last week I put it out. It got 160,000 views and over 5,000 people said that I want a boss that I can trust. We all know this to be true within our relationships, personal or business. And for me, I believe that's one and the same thing, actually. We just address our professional relationships a little bit differently. I think that's a big mistake. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today, if you ask me, how can we improve the way that we build trust in the workplace? It has a lot to do with being more personal. I've had more bosses in the past that I couldn't trust than bosses that I could. And actually, there's statistics that show and studies that have been published in Harvard Business Review that show almost 60% of us trust strangers more than our own boss. That has to do with the feelings of betrayal that we get. It has to do with bad feedback, bad coaching, bad performance reviews, but generally speaking, bad communication and low levels of trust. So that's what I'm seeing out there.
Wow. That's powerful right there. And the one that I did, it wasn't really about trust specifically. I gave them the choices of, do we need to see more kindness, grace, goodwill? Do we need to see more understanding and trust? Do we need to see more forgiveness and mercy? Do we need to see more love, family-oriented love, basically, in the workplace? And out of all those, the top choice was understanding and choice by almost 60% so far. So it seems to be carrying across quite well. So we see quite a few who are coming in. Thank you for letting us know, Stephen Heisman, as well as Gwen Chambers and Joanne, that you can hear us. Thank you for being here. I want to make this interactive. So guys, if you've got questions, if you got just feedback, if you hear something you like, let us know in the comments. I'm going to be reading all the comments and acknowledging them. So thank you for being here. And we're going to make this interactive with questions too. I've got questions for Brian, but I've also got questions for you in the audience. So that brings me to my first one, Brian. Are you ready?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So would you rather discover space aliens that are superior to ourselves or inferior? What would you like to find out?
Definitely superior. Definitely superior. There's if you think about the universe, well, if I think about the universe, the likelihood that someone is going to be at the exact same place in technology and civilization, I mean, the fact that there might even be life out there might be aliens, right. And then also to say that they're in the same place technologically, that's just, there's no way. They're either likely to be less civilized or more civilized. But if we come into contact with them through their means, like let's say, I've obviously given this a lot of thought.
I can tell. I love it.
If aliens come to us and they've been able to travel that far, it most likely means that they are definitely superior when it comes to intelligence and technology. Now, if we go and seek them out and we find alien life in another planet, that might likely mean the opposite, that, oh, we're further along in our technology, so we're appearing on their planet as the advanced species, so to speak, technologically.
Wow, I love this. Okay, guys, in the comments, what do you guys think? I want to see what you think as well.
I watched one too many sci-fis, huh?
I love it. This is great. This is what makes it really fun. Okay, here's another one for you. It's kind of interesting. Would you rather be so smart that you went to college at age 13, okay, or have gone through high school normally without ever being remotely challenged academically? And guys, in the comments, I want you to answer that too, and then we're going to get a little more serious with this trust thing again.
That's a good question. I graduated high school with decent grades, but as I was finishing up, I sort of fell off the discipline wagon. I got into some trouble after high school, dropped out of college 3 times. I didn't go back to school until I was working full time and I was later in my 20s. The reason I went back to school was because I wanted to ask my wife to marry me and I didn't know how else to provide her with a better life. So I went back to school. Um, I think that just to answer your question directly, though, I wouldn't want to see anyone go to college too early. There's something about just living a really nice life throughout your teens, enjoying the friendships, enjoying the social nature, getting into some trouble, having fun, experiencing life, traveling for the first time. That's really important. I think it's important for us to not push so hard on like our success factors and, oh, I need to do this and this and this. Like, what about just sitting back and enjoying it? I'm actually trying to slow my life down as much as possible. How can I make the same income but do less?
Yes. What's interesting too, what gives your statement that much more credibility is that you have your doctorate. So, I mean, it's not like, you're saying this and you didn't go to school. After looking back, you're saying don't push the school thing too fast. Let me ask you this. How does it relate at all, if any, to trust? Does having a strong academic background, does that help to engender more trust in our workmates or our staff? What's your observations there?
Yeah, it could be on the technical side, but usually, well, actually, really, trust is a mix of character plus competence. And on the competence, am I technically adept in my field? Do I have prudent recommendations to make to companies who are struggling with trust? Yes, I do, but that doesn't solve the character issue. Now, on the character side, if they also like me personally, and I'm someone who can show self-trust and interpersonal trust and develop social trust with the people around me, those two pieces combined, the technical competence with the social and character competence, now we're talking. Okay, I can trust this individual. One without the other, though, I could have a PhD but be a complete dick, and people would just say, "No, I don't trust that guy." So you need both pieces there. I hope that wasn't too profane. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll make sure we keep it safe for work. But yeah, keep going. You got it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's in truth, one of the reasons I got the PhD was actually from a place of seeking external validation. What was that one more certificate or diploma that I had to have to show people that I really was who I was? And so I think looking back, there were some healthy components of why I did the doctorate. And it certainly opened my eyes to a lot of new things, but some of that was from an unhealthy place. And I've learned since then in the last few years how to really recuperate and recharge that level of self-trust and make and keep promises to myself.
This is an interesting thought. Yeah, I think this just really is relevant to our trust discussion because I've spoken with a lot of minority leaders that have all the letters behind their name. And they said the reason why they did that is to give them that much more credibility when they say something in the room with folks. The other folks may not necessarily have as many letters as them, but they feel like they can be heard more. And it was almost like a self-confidence kind of thing from their standpoint. But then also they felt like it also had an effect on the other person too. So I don't know if it helped to increase the trust or not. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I've heard that from several leaders that was the reason why they got it. It wasn't because they felt like they were going to get that much more knowledge from it. They felt like it was more of a respect thing and being heard.
I'll give you the straight up answer. For me, my corporate clients, they expect me to have a PhD. So a lot of their corporate trainers don't have a PhD, but the fact that I design and deliver my own curriculum is important to them. And so I've seen it as a factor for sure. And I don't even like using doctor. I don't ask my students at university to call me doctor. I don't ask my clients to call me doctor. I actually prefer if I'm not called doctor. But I leave it up there on my LinkedIn as Dr. Brian Harman because it helps me to generate more, I guess, desire on the corporate side because I do a lot of leadership retreats and corporate training, and that's important to them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
that plays.
Would they look at me otherwise? I mean, I'm wearing a hat. I'm a young guy with a beard and a t-shirt. So yeah, I think it does matter, and we all have to build our credibility in whatever way that we feel it's right.
That makes a ton of sense. So thank you all for being here. I see a couple more folks came in. I see some comments going here. Steven says he's not an Alien fan per se, so he's not too into the Alien thing, but thank you for commenting on that, Steven. And then Carl says, hello guys. Rollis and Brian. He says, great discussion, very informative. Steven says, I'm seeking a CEO that is preferably a doctor with extra time, as my side project is in the healthcare tech startup. Okay, he's actually, so that means a lot to him. He wants to have a CEO that's also a doctor, so that makes sense. Um, and then as far as other comments, we have Jennifer Joe, an actual MD on. There we go. She says, "Oh, the minority tax." You know what? I never heard it put that way. That's a great point, Dr. Joe. But I have heard it from several leaders. Like they feel like they have to have that much more extra letters behind their name to give them the validation. Carl, who is he's a minority himself, he says it is a factor indeed, and the work done is great. It is all profiling. Okay. So let us know who are just those of you who are just signing in. Let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, what country. And we want you to participate with these questions that I asked Brian. So I want to get answers from Brian, but I also want to get answers from you in the comments, and I'll be sure and read that. Okay. So let me ask you this. If you have the choice, because people make these fortune cookies all the time. They have those little sayings in them in the restaurants. And I don't know if wherever you're watching, if you're watching from another country, if they do that there, but it's just basically a little cookie that has a little message in it. So, what thought or sentiment would you like to have copied and put into 1,000,000 of those fortune cookies if you could, Brian?
The way the world sees you is the way you see yourself.
Ooh, I like that one. Say that again.
The way the world sees you is the way you see yourself.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay, it deserves this right here. Amazing. I love that. Very good. Okay. That was good. Guys in the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking too. And let's see. Steven says Robert Gersley, MD, has been doing great work on personal data for medical records. Okay, excellent. Dr. Joe says currently in Boston, but 18 years born and raised in Mississippi. I'm in Texas, by the way, guys. I'm in Texas. And where are you right now, Brian?
Sunny Los Angeles, California. There's some sunlight coming in right there.
Gotta love that right there. Awesome. Okay, so in the comments, let us know what if you had the opportunity to have your message in 1,000,000 fortune cookies. What would you put in there? I like yours. That was an excellent one, Brian. If I had a gold star, I'd give you one.
Yeah, it just comes back to that self-awareness about yourself. Is if you want people to see you a certain way, then you first have to look inward and say, well, how am I seeing myself? Do I talk nicely to myself, or am I not?
You know what you made me think of? If a person is not able to develop trust, does that mean they don't trust themselves? Does that mean does that portray a lack of trust in themselves based on what you just said? I'm curious.
Yeah. It's an important thing to call out, because usually when we think about trust, it's in the interpersonal, from you to me. What is the intentional sort of willingness I have for Rollis to control outcomes in Brian's life? But actually, there is this piece of self-trust, which is about just yourself. Are you making and keeping promises to yourself? And if I do that, then the people around me will see that happening, and they'll say, that's a person that I can trust more than someone who continuously is not coming through on the promises that they make. So if you're going to declare your promises outwardly, don't squander that. You're giving people an opportunity to see that you have self-trust, and you don't want to blow that.
Absolutely.
I can give you an example if you want.
Please. This is your time. Go for it, Brian.
Yeah. Let's say I tell my wife on Saturday, I'm going to run.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go work out Saturday morning. So on Friday night, when we have dinner, I'm just going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to lay low. Saturday, I'm going to work out. It's going to be great. That's a self-promise. That's a promise I'm making to myself and keeping, but now I've also told someone about it. So if my wife sees me keep that promise and I work out on Saturday morning, she's like, awesome. That's great. He can trust himself. I can trust him. He comes through on his promises. But now if I don't do that, let's say I have a couple of drinks, I wake up late, I'm like, I'm not going to work out on Saturday. Well, I blew it. I just had an opportunity to show that I trust myself, and I don't do the things I say I'm going to do. So that's where self-trust comes in, is you can make and keep promises to yourself and not share them. Once you can do that, then you declare it outwardly, you tell other people about it, and then if they see you do it, boom, trust.
I like that.
That's a cycle. The other thing about
that's a perfect
self-trust too,
example.
Rollis, is that it's a behavioral cycle. So if I make a promise and I keep a promise to myself, there needs to be an act of self-love in there before I start a new promise. What I mean by that is there should be a reward for my good work. If I go and do the workout on Saturday, maybe I'll take a nice bubble bath afterwards instead of just a quick shower. I need to engage
Yeah.
something that says to myself, let's keep doing this, Brian. Let's go into high achievement mode. Let's do stuff. Let's make promises, make new goals. Let's keep them. Reward, boom, boom, boom. Cycle continues.
Yeah. No, I love that. So one of the things I have heard, and I want to get your take on this, is they say that people are more motivated by pain more than pleasure. So you talked about setting a like this nice little reward for yourself. Do you also recommend setting up a punishment for yourself if you don't do it? I'm just curious.
Not really. It's like I wouldn't beat my dog, would I? No, I would just give my dog a reward when they do something great. So
Okay.
it's the same thing with myself. Is if I don't hit my goals, I need to reflect on that and explore and discover what was at the root of this. What
Yeah.
happened? Why didn't I work out on Saturday?
Right.
Get through it. If I just sit there punishing myself and let that negative record in my head keep playing, how am I going to get back on the bandwagon and do it the next time? So you need to take the minute to reflect, understand what's happening in there, move forwards, move forwards, move forwards. We're not going to hit every single goal that we aim for.
Right.
And in the failure process, the gap between failure and growth is feedback. And when you're doing that with yourself, that's self-reflection. When you're doing that with other people, like in the workplace, if someone messed something up, maybe someone that works for you, you give them some dialogue, you give them some feedback. Hey, here's what I saw. Tell me about it. And then you have growth at the other end of it. So same
Right.
with yourself, is you got to be fair to yourself, just like you would be to other people.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily think negative reinforcement's all that great.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So let's see here. We got more comments coming in here. Um, Carl says that is the truth. Preach. So he's liking some stuff you're saying here, Brian. Steven says go Baylor. Now wait a second. That's not a Baylor cap, is it? That's like a Boston cap, maybe. Is that
This cap is Brooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers? Wow. But good for you, Steven. Baylor, go Baylor. I'm in Texas, so I know all about Baylor. Okay, so Carl says you have to see yourself as the person you desire to be before others will see it. Ah, you like that? What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, I love it. I think that's definitely fortune cookie worthy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Joe says my sister and brother in Houston. Oh, excellent. I love it. Okay. Gwen says be bold, be brave, be brilliant. How's that land on you,
Love
Brian?
that.
You like it?
Yeah, B. Just like the hat B for Brooklyn.
There you go. I love
Be
that.
bold, be brave, be brilliant. Actually, they in what is it? I don't know. First, second grade, they make you do an anagram of your name, and mine starts with a B. So what did I put? I put bold, and I've always been really, really loving that word. And actually, my name does come from Celtic origin, and it means bold. So
Oh, wow.
cool.
Look at that. Let me see what the audience has to say. Yep. They love it. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Okay. So Steven says, do what you can do what you will do. Do what you can do what you will do. Interesting. Wow. I'm about to sit and ponder on that one. I like that. Okay. Carl says, live what you tell others. Be the thing. That goes right back what you were saying with the wife situation. That was good. Steven says, I know someone developing a startup that gives carrots for feedback. Wow. Carrots for that's interesting. Okay. So I have a never have I ever question for you, Brian. And those in the comments, I want you to answer the same question. And of course, we all have to tell the truth because we are talking about trust today. Okay, we have to be truthful. Okay. All right. So have you ever, I'm sorry, never, the way you answer this is you'll say, I have or I've never. Okay. So never have I ever eaten a candy bar in the store and then paid for it with the empty wrapper.
Yeah, I do that. And actually more so recently for my son. We'll go in there. He'll ask for a little smoothie. Jennifer Garner has this little company or this company with these little smoothie packs.
Uh-huh.
So if it's Target or the market, uh, he'll go straight in. He'll drink the smoothie while he's in the shopping cart, and then we'll just pay with the empty thing. But yeah, I've done it myself as well.
Yeah, I have too. Especially like, okay, so when you go in the subway or like when I used to go to Quiznos, I would start at the line. You can just grab your chips, right, and then you just
Chips, yeah.
wait for them to fix your sandwich, right. So I could not wait. I had to eat my chips because I was so hungry when I went in there. So I get the chips and I would just eat it, and then by the time I got to the checkout, I just stored the empty bag of chips. Yeah,
yeah,
you want chips?
They don't
and
mind either because they just have the meal deal, right? So
right, exactly.
I've done that too. They're pretty cool in there.
Gwen says, never have I ever. Never has she ever eaten a candy bar in the store and then paid for it with an empty wrapper. Okay, but I think they didn't seem to mind when I did it. So yeah, I'm gonna pay for it. So, and I got it in my hand. I'm not gonna hiding it or anything. Steven says I try to stay out of jail. So I guess he's never done it. Okay. So Brian, now that you know how it works, I have to ask it one more, and then, but I don't want you to answer me right away. Okay. So don't answer me right away because we're going to guess. Myself and my audience are going to guess whether you have or you've never. Okay.
Okay.
So never have I ever walked in my sleep. Okay. So guys, we're going to try and guess if Brian has ever walked in his sleep. And so go ahead and put in the comments if you feel like Brian has ever walked in his sleep. And we're going to continue our conversation about building trust. And then I'm going to read the comments. We're going to try and guess. So Brian, from your perspective, what's probably one of the what's one of the most common mistakes that break the trust between, let's say, workmates, and then maybe we can also take between a leader and their staff?
Yeah, between leader and their staff, the biggest thing that I see is bosses tend to give advice before having a dialogue. So if I see something going on and I want it done a different way, here's a perfect example of that. I have a video editor, and if I tell my video editor, "Hey, I want some more neon colors on the thumbnail for this video," well, great. I can give that advice. Okay, fine. I can do that. The cooler thing to do would have been to say to my video editor, "Hey, how do you think we can make those thumbnails really pop?" Yes. And then they'll come back and give their ideas. And then now it's their thing that happened. And ultimately, same outcome. But I'm now, instead of as the leader, I'm giving the power away instead of holding it myself. So I'm removing my position from it. I'm turning it into a dialogue. And then the advice comes a lot better. And does that take more time? Yeah, it slows down the process for sure. Because now they're going to think about it. They're going to email me back a couple ideas maybe the next day. But yeah, that's the cost. That's the cost of giving your power away, is giving people the chance to do things on their own, come up with their and you know what? This is the funny part. Because I'm not a creative video editor, his ideas were better than mine anyways.
That's so true. That's so true.
So never, that's the thing between leaders and employees. Stop giving advice.
Yes.
Just tell them what you observed, ask them what they think about it, ask them if they have any ideas, and then go from there. And you'd have to be patient with that. That's the growth. That's what a coach does.
Yeah. I love that. In fact, I think you did it. I think you did this with that one right there. I think you did. You know, you went up to the plate and you just knocked it out of there. Love it. Love it. And I that's something I could use. I could actually take that and use that today. Okay, I got some more coming here. Let's see what they said about you. So our audience here said, "Oh, Steven said this is fun. I'm glad you're having fun. Let's see, we can have fun and learn at the same time, right, Brian?"
Yeah, for sure.
Steven says, never walked in my sleep. Okay, so Steven's never walked in his sleep. Do you think Brian has walked in his sleep though? Stacy Ford, hey, good to see you, Stacy. She says yes. She thinks you have walked in your sleep. Gwen says yes. Brian has walked in his sleep. So look, we're all in suspense here. I think you probably walked in your sleep at least once. So go for it. Have you or have you never walked in your sleep?
Yeah, I don't think I ever have. Now, as a young child, I did pee in the bed a few times. But I think that's as far as it goes on the sleeping. I don't think I'm a sleepwalker. I do have a narcoleptic brother though.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Is that presented some problems? How did that work out?
Yeah. It didn't go away until he got into the Air Force.
Oh,
But he had
wow.
a really hard time waking up. You could shake him and shake him and shake him, and he would just be in such a deep sleep. I don't know if that's actually narcolepsy. There was something else he called it. But anyways, I don't think I ever walked in my sleep.
Never walked in your
Seems like a
sleep.
fun thing to do though.
Yeah. So you know what? And it can cause some problems depending on what happens, right?
Yeah.
So Steven says, I am seeking a new roommate. So if I had, I would need my privacy for this. I toss, I turn, and can snore. Now I definitely snore. I have an issue with snoring, and my poor wife
Mm.
has dealt with me with that for a while. So
My
that's a
wife
tough
wears
one.
earplugs every night for the last 20 years. I feel terrible about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Gwen says takes more time, but it's the right thing to do. This is how you build trust. So she loved what you said about the not giving advice and asking for it. I love that. That was a great point. Okay,
Hey, Rollis, just so you know,
please.
I'm not saying bosses shouldn't give advice because oftentimes bosses have a lot of great wisdom within them. I'm
Okay.
just saying don't do it until after you've given them the chance.
The chance,
Then, if there's
yes.
still some things, okay, time for advice, but let it escalate. Let it get to the advice. Don't just throw it out there right off the bat.
Yes. Because the example you gave is you're giving a task, right? But you're not telling the person why you want the neon colors. And if you tell them why or ask the question, or at least tell them why, now they can come back and give you perhaps better ideas than what you thought, because you want to just get more attention, probably. You want to get attention more, when you post. You want to make it pop, like you said, more.
Yeah.
And so now that they know that you want it to pop, okay, they may give you another scenario that's you didn't even think about that still fits your end goal, because it wasn't that you just have a special affinity for neon colors. You just wanted to pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love
Yeah,
that.
and you know what I did when my editor's first video went live on LinkedIn? I sent him and his family coffee and donuts for a job well done.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's personal. That's a trust building behavior. Is celebrate the achievements, especially when their ideas are involved. You empower that, celebrate it. There's so
Okay.
much to be happy for.
That's another good piece of advice. So when we're building trust, we want to celebrate that. So that was one example. Give me some other examples where you've seen it's been, and it's not necessarily a high cost either. It's a relatively low cost. So give us some other examples of how we can build trust by celebrating with our staff or with coworkers.
Letting them try new things. I think this term psychological safety, it's another word for social trust. And the environments that thrive, that perform the most, that adapt to change the best, that are the most resilient, that are the most productive, these are teams who have high psychological safety. And a team with high psychological safety is one that they don't have to risk any issues on their reputation or lashback or backlash, whatever it is. They don't have to risk that if they come up with new ideas. So Google did this extensive multi-year study as part of this thing they called Project Aristotle. And they found that the thing that their most high-performing teams all had in common was high psychological safety. So this idea that we need a place where we can try new things,
right?
This should be celebrated, because when you do that, you're creating new norms in a team that says, we appreciate that type of behavior here. So keep it coming, bring it on.
Yeah.
Now, if you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, I'd love to try new things. What does that look like? It means breaking social norms. So in a meeting, that if I kick off a meeting with a stretch or a breathing exercise or an icebreaker or tell me about your first job, these are all examples of trying new things. And we need to provide our employees with positive praise and recognition when they have those behaviors so that they keep doing them. Same thing with this. This comes back to the very first thing we talked about, was like, you wouldn't beat your dog. You want to just reinforce the positive behaviors. That's what they teach you. I remember when I've trained my dogs, you have the treats, and when they sit, you give them a little treat.
Right.
Same thing in the workplace. It's like if someone does something great and they're trying new things, you want to reinforce that behavior. Tell them exactly what they did. So after the meeting, if you're the boss and you send out an email to everyone, hey, Rollis, I really appreciate that you brought that icebreaker into the meeting. That's the kind of behaviors that we really could use more of here. Thank you so much. It has to be specific. You have to tell me exactly what I did. Because if I just say, hey, Rollis, great job, now you're wondering like, well, what did I do that was great? So just like in the constructive feedback, your positive praise needs to be equally specific. needs to be
Yes.
very, very highly detailed. Tell me exactly in the 9:30 meeting, in the very beginning, you did the icebreaker exercise. Here was the result. Thank you.
That makes so much sense. And I think that actually, if you don't, if you're not specific, the level of trust in that compliment is down. It increases as you're the more specific that you are when you say great job on X, like what you said at the very beginning with the celebratory thing. What do you think is whatever you said at the beginning of the meeting? You were specific as to what they were doing. So I love that. That's a great point. Okay, so I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Oh, Stephen has a commenter. He says, I used to get sick on myself when a child after a recurring Tetris game I was in jumping over blocks, get sick in sleep.
That's like a nightmare. It sounds like
Yeah.
they played too much Tetris and got nightmares when they went to bed,
Oh,
something like that.
now I got it. Yeah. Makes sense. He says, yeah, I tried he says, I trained my German Shepherd Black Lab mix to sing I Love You. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Stacy says it also shows that leaders are really engaged. Yes. Instead of just saying good job, they're actually really engaged with what you're doing and noticing what you're doing. I love that too. Okay. So I had a
Mhm.
question for you that just fell. I don't know where it went, so I have a different one for you. All right. If you had the time and money to go on a month long summer adventure of your choice this summer, okay, a full month, what would you choose to do during that month? Where would you go?
Yeah. That's too coincidental because we're doing that. We're taking the month of May off, and
Oh, wow.
we're taking a road trip up north through California, through Oregon, and then up through Washington. And we're going to stay a week in this little town called Leavenworth, which is a Bavarian and German themed town, much like the little town in SoCal called Solvang, which is a Danish town. But
Mm.
we're doing that because we plan to spend 6 to 8 weeks later this year in Germany. So we thought, oh, well, great. Why don't, for our summer vacation, why don't we go check out Leavenworth, give us a little taste of this beautiful little German town, supposed to be just fairy tale-ish, just the mountains and the green and the waterfalls. And I'm pretty pumped up about that. We're leaving in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. And those in the comments, let us know what you would do. What would you do with your month long trip, all expense paid? What would you do if you had the time and the resources? Where would you go? Okay, another question for you. What is something that many people consider a modern day convenience that you quite frankly consider a pain in the neck?
Where we get our food from.
Tell me about
Where we
that.
get our food from. Last night I was eating asparagus. I didn't grow the asparagus. It was coated in olive oil. I didn't grow an olive tree. There was salt and pepper. I didn't create that. So this simple four ingredient
Right.
meal: asparagus, olive oil, salt, pepper. I worked in supply chain for 15 years. So I mean, I could go back and kind of retrace the steps and all that. But man, what if I had to do all that myself? I'd probably just eat boiled vegetable of some kind that I could grow in my backyard. The foods that we eat, even if it was like ice cream, do you know how much work goes into making ice cream from the beginning of the inputs all the way through the outputs of the delicious ice cream? I just think it's wild, and we completely take it for granted. And I do think that's also one of the reasons why, well, I don't want to get into a crazy conversation about our system of food and agriculture, but we could just sit back and appreciate anything that's right in front of us. The fact that you and I are talking, and the fact that we've built a friendship even though we haven't met yet. And there's so many great things that we can really appreciate for just what's in arm length right now. I have an electronic drum set behind me. I have a medieval sword from Spain right over
Oh
there.
yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, just
Wow,
everything. It's
that's
just there's
true.
so much to be grateful for and to appreciate that. I think that is a beautiful question, and I think we should ask it to ourselves every day, all day.
Yes. Wow, that's so profound. I love that because there's so many things that we take for granted that we almost like. For instance, Zoom. I've heard this a lot. I'm zoomed out, and I get it. So we've been on Zoom a lot. I think part of that has to do with people packing too many meetings together because that's what I've done in the past. But at the same time, it does show in a sense a lack of appreciation for that device that is allowing us right now to have this conversation, which I'm extremely grateful for right now. So you're right. Even as simple as food, in a lot of low income areas, the first thing they do is they give them a lot of highly processed food that is not from in that area. When what would it have looked like if they had some community, plant, some garden or something where folks can get some of the basics, because in terms of lettuce and tomatoes, just simple things. You
Yeah.
got me thinking here, Brian. Wow.
Yeah. My favorite foods are potato and corn. Like I don't need that. There's a lot of great stuff that you can just put in your backyard. So that's one of the things I'm getting into right now is
Man.
figuring out how I can make like a whole day or week worth of food just from my garden.
Yeah. And also another thing is we learn from that process, because you have to plant the seeds, you have to water it, you have to wait. These are all things we're not taught, because if I want to get a salad, I just drive to my store, or I don't have to do that. Just go on my app and order from my grocery store. They'll bring it to my front door in a little while. I put no effort in that.
Yeah.
So I think
I think it makes us appreciate things less because the world has become so convenient. Like this, I shouldn't be drinking this coffee in a plastic cup with a plastic straw, but here I am. And coffee, it comes from a town cafe in Ethiopia. It's not even native to the US, but here I am drinking this coffee from a place far, far away.
Wow.
I also, one thing I do want to come back to that you talked about was the Zoom fatigue.
Yes.
One thing that I wish I would see more of in the workplace is eliminating back-to-back meetings. I think it is the biggest productivity killer, but it's also a mental health killer. You need to have a time before the meeting where you can come in with your best intentions.
Yes.
Where you can really think about, what do I want to get out of this? What can I contribute to this? What is the 2 or 3 highest possible outcomes here? Yes. And then afterwards, we need that section to do our follow-ups, any action items, maybe block some calendar time to do the action items, and to send someone either constructive or positive feedback.
Yes.
Then after that, we need to disassociate so we can do it all over again for the next meeting. But when we go back to back, it's almost like you're watching 2 movies at once. You can't do that. You need to disassociate, clear your mind, get up, walk around, get some water, and then go into the next meeting fully charged up and energized with that highest possible outcome again.
Yes.
But yeah, back-to-back meetings, man, that hurts.
I'm so thankful. I think that's why people get zoomed out, is because they have them back to back. And one of the things I had someone on my show, I don't remember who it was, who suggested this. If you just sit and think for 5 minutes after the Zoom is over, just mentally process what just happened. If you don't take the time to do that, then a lot of what we said goes away. And by the time the next meeting starts and ends, you forgot what you said to the person before that. And I was like, man, that's so true. We just don't stop and process stuff anymore, because it's just back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So Steven says, are you stopping by Switzerland too? He wants to stop by Switzerland.
That's one of the countries I haven't been to. So when I go to Germany later this year, I do plan to stop into Switzerland.
Okay, yeah, awesome. It's a beautiful. It has to be. I haven't been there, but it seems like a beautiful country. And he says, I spent a lot of time on probiotics. Thank you, from dairy products and yogurt shots. And Gwen says, you must focus on food desserts. Our mortality depends on it. Food desserts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Because so instead of eating a pineapple cake, I should just eat a pineapple. Or instead of eating like some highly, highly sweet fruit drink, maybe I could take some strawberries or oranges and put them together and make a juice out of or something. Is that what you mean, Gwen? Food desserts? What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I think so. I think instead of ice cream, we could just have a bowl of strawberries and be even more satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure they're good and cold. I want those strawberries cold. Milk Pep, are you watching? Oh, he must have tagged somebody on that. Okay. So I have a question for you. This is going to be a mind blower here. Okay. Mind blowing question here. All right. Would you rather get trapped under heavy weights while bench pressing at a crowded gym, or have your fingers get stuck in a bowling ball, dragging you several feet down the lane into a crowded bowling alley? those are both terrible.
The bowling alley one is actually pretty cool because I think all leaders should be developing a better tolerance to look silly. But actually, the weights one, I used to lift weights every day, and I would go to a gym, and there were professional, famous bodybuilders that worked out at this gym that I used to go to. It's not there anymore. It used to be called the Santa Clarita Athletic Club. Now it's something else. But anyways, that would never happen because anytime someone saw you lifting a lot of weight, they would always just come up and help.
Oh, right.
And it was such a beautiful community where people wanted you to strive hard to get to your goals, but they would help you there. I'll never forget the time I put 245-pound weights on the side of this thing, and then I added, I hit that up a few times. I got my reps in, then I added 25 and 25, and I was legitimately struggling to get this bar up. And this guy, Gunter Schlierkamp, one of the most notable weightlifters of all time, he comes over and spots me. And I see his face right above mine, like 4 feet above my face. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And then every day after that, for the next couple of years that I still went to that gym, I'd always wave at him. And he was just such a nice guy. So that's the community. I think I'll go with the weightlifting one just because it's actually happened to me.
Okay. All right. So you'd rather have that. Guys in the comments, let me know what you guys think. And okay, here's another one here I got for you. Would you rather miss the winning shot for the high school state basketball championship or misplace a $10,000 winning ticket? And we'll for winning ticket, we'll just pretend that was just that was a windfall. Someone, maybe it was an inheritance or something like that. I'm not going to make you gamble, but just to say $10,000 winning, some kind of $10,000 winning that just came in the mail that you misplaced it. Maybe it was an extra. What do you call it? COVID stimulus check or something. It's 10 grand, or miss the winning shot for your high school state basketball championship.
Yeah, they're both interesting. I think I'm going to go the high school basketball thing just because I feel like there are more lessons to be learned in that scenario.
The lessons learned. I love that.
Because then you go and you got to kind of process that, and it's like, oh, that hurts, but how do I get over this? Am I going to keep playing? Did I just let myself and my team down? How did my team react? How did I react? How did my parents react? I don't know. They're both funny though.
That's pretty good. Okay, so I missed a few comments here. So Jody, my wife's watching actually. She says Whole Foods, natural foods. So she agrees about the better foods, Whole Foods, natural foods. Gwen says food deserts are places where there's a lack. Oh, deserts. Hello. I'm sorry, Gwen. I'm sorry I can't read today. She's saying food deserts are places where lack of healthy, wholesome foods are. So generally found in low income areas. Yes, that I've noticed the same thing, Gwen. There's some parts of town here in Houston, you go in there, you cannot find a grocery store that's packed with healthy foods in there. It's just got a bunch of, just like these little convenience stores with junk food in them. And so, yeah, that's so true. Steven says
we
to
both
Gwen,
missed that. She wrote deserts twice, and we both saw desserts.
You know what? There's a leadership lesson there. There's leadership because sometimes we'll see something and we see it a certain way. Someone else sees the same situation. They see it a totally different way. And we're both trying to communicate with the other. We're not getting there because we're seeing it differently. I don't know. Expand on that, Brian. I know you got a better way of probably expanding on that.
It sounds kind of like groupthink when the desire to get to the best outcome is limited by our desire to please the people around us. But I think this one just happens to be that we're both maybe not the best spellers. I don't know. Or maybe we just both are in the mood for ice cream. Who knows?
Maybe so. Okay. All right. So guys, you've been great today. I love all these comments. So, Jamal, he says he's going to go for the ticket. He's laughing. Steven says no comment. And Gwen says thanks. So we finally got it. We're a little slow, Gwen. Thank you for your patience, but we finally got it. Okay. Would you rather, Brian, be able to walk on water forever or fly for 3 hours on 3 different occasions in your life? Like, I mean,
What
you
was the
personally
first one?
fly. The first option is to be able to walk on water. It's for as long as you want, forever. Or the second one is to fly for 3 hours on 3 different occasions where you personally could fly.
Oh man. There's something about flying that even if it's only for a limited time, I think we'll probably take that, huh? I'm going fly.
You gonna fly? Guys
Yeah.
in the comments, what do you guys think? What would you do? Would you go for flying, or would you go for the being able to walk on water? That's an interesting question, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, here's one more for you. Would you rather be known for your intelligence or for your courage, but not both?
Because the word is courage, if I accept anything else, I feel like I'd let's see.
I know it's tough. Guys in the comments, let me know what you think. Courage or intelligence? Which one do you want to be known for? You can only choose one, not both, in this hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, I think I like intelligence just because I want to make a contribution to my field. But man, courage is just such a powerful word. It's
I
hard
know
to.
it's so hard. Oh my gosh.
You stumped me, but I'm going to go intelligence, but I don't feel good about it.
Okay, okay. So I like what you said. I'm gonna go with courage, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a guy like Brian on my team who's intelligent. So you're gonna help
There
me.
we go.
You're gonna help keep me out of harm's way. Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm gonna go with courage to do the thing, and then you're gonna help me do the thing. How about
All
that?
right. I'm in. I'm in. You could sign me up for that.
Gwen says, "Walk on water like Jesus," and definitely courage for her. Steven says he'd do the flying, and so would Jamal. They said they both want to go with flying. Steven says he's going to go with intelligence. Yeah, it's interesting, guys. If you don't do this personally, I would highly suggest. It's so much fun to ask people these interesting questions because you get a chance to see how they think on different things. They surprise you. Sometimes I'll have them answer, and then I'm thinking one way, but by the time they answer, they convince me. I'm like, I think I like that better than what my suggestion was. So you're good at this, Brian. You're doing great with this. All right. Give me two things that I can do as a, a worker. I don't have to even be a leader that I can do to start building trust with the people that I work with, whether it's a client or whether it's a workmate. How can I build trust with people who are in my circle of influence right around me?
Yeah, two things. Number one, admit mistakes. Number two, be more open. What I mean by being open is talking about when people always ask this question, oh hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, thanks. How are you? Oh, good, cool. All right. That is you've just squandered a major opportunity to build trust. Yes. You should never answer how are you in less than 50 words. Tell me, what did your morning look like? What was something you learned about life in the last few days? What's your family up to? What was your today's Monday, right? So we had a weekend. There's all kinds of stuff I could tell you about. And if I just say good, it's just complete BS. There has to be really a more personal approach to how we connect with people. And if you ever answer that question, how are you? Oh, good. How are you? Good. Then you're telling the other person, I don't care about you. That's what you're saying by answering that question. Now, if I ask you, Rollis, hey, how you doing? And you answer with a nice, beautiful story about your weekend, some cool stuff, maybe a book you're reading, a show you watched with your wife, Jody. Well, then what am I going to do when you say, hey, Brian, how are you? I'm going to reciprocate. I'm going to give you back. Oh, man, that's awesome. Here's the story about my life. Yeah. And the reciprocal nature of trust is now built. We can't we can't expect other people to open up if we're not going to do it ourselves. So we have to take the step to say, I'm going to open up the gate of vulnerability. I'm going to go deep beneath the surface on this one. You ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. I'm going to tell you the whole thing, not just, oh, I'm good. So that's one thing. The other thing was the admitting mistakes. Now, earlier we talked about social trust and social trust being so important for the workplace because it has so many great benefits. Right. It also just feels good to watch those barriers break down. I can laugh. I can be more playful. I can be myself. I can contribute my creativity, my generous knowledge, or whatever it is. If I can't admit my mistakes and the leaders around me and the people around me can't admit their mistakes, then how can we try new things? If there's no admitting of the mistakes, then we're never going to stretch that trust out.
Yeah.
So you have to try new things, admit your mistakes, try new things, admit your mistakes, let that be a cycle. And then the people around you will feel like they can do more and they can contribute more.
And I will add to that too, is to make it where the consequences are not catastrophic when you make mistakes, because some people are in organizations where they feel like if they make a mistake, it might be that next step before they're out the door. And so you have a set of people who don't want to take chances. Therefore, the company suffers. But it's because the culture wasn't accepting of people making mistakes. I don't know if you've seen that in your practice, Brian. I don't know if you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, and mistakes and performance is different. And also mistakes and negligence is different. So
Mm,
I'm not saying let's reward people for hurting customers or for neglecting or missing a meeting. Like that's different.
right.
That's different. Those are the basics. Those are things that you should set an example for yourself and for others around you by doing those things that are standard excellence type business people behaviors. But when it comes to meetings, when people are talking about something, when they're brainstorming something, great time to just kind of throw some things out there.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to being an example.
Another thing too, when you talked about how you're doing and all that, I think that the person, and I see what you're saying, especially if you're open with yourself, because the person has to have a certain level of trust that you actually want to hear them to tell you the details, because so many other people are superficial when they, including me, when I say, how are you doing? I'm not, because especially if I'm in a hurry, I'm at the store or something like that. I'm checking out, and it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. How about you? I'm doing great. Then we just move on. We don't go into the full story. So
Mm.
talk to me about, reading the room, because there are times when, they ask you and they really don't want to hear the whole story, versus other times when you do want to build that trust, you do want to share more about give me some ideas, or myself and my audience some tips on that.
If the guy in the parking lot asks me how I'm doing, I give him a full answer.
Wow.
Yeah. Now here's the issue though. Sometimes when people say that stuff, they're not expecting what you're about to give them.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, like when I'm walking by someone and I know that I'm not going to have that time to get
Right.
into the full conversation, I just don't say that. I just say, "Hey, good to see you."
Ooh.
Instead of "How
Okay.
are you?" You just change the word into something else that's positive. Positivity is a prerequisite for trust. When our bodies are stressed,
Yeah.
when we're in a rush, when we sense threat, whatever it is, we're not going to be in a place where we want to build trust. So sometimes in the environments where, especially if stress is high, or like you said, like if someone is in a rush, well, don't make it worse by making them listen to your whole story there. So sometimes you do have to just move on. Um,
Wow. That's an
yeah,
interesting
I would.
thought.
Yeah.
And in some cultures, like the Korean culture, they don't do that. They don't say, because it's like the way we say "how are you" is disingenuous to them. That they want to basically do the whole deal. If you really want to know how they're going to explain it. From the way it was explained to me by a Korean person, because I was asking, like, so how do you say how are you in Korean? And they couldn't really explain it to me.
They said we don't say that. Yeah, I
We
know.
don't say that. So yeah, and even like in Vietnamese, because I learned a little bit Vietnamese, and the word for that is basically, are you asked if they're in good health? They don't ask about like how are you doing, and they don't go into detail when they answer you. So it's like,
Mhm.
quack on. I'm saying, how good health, Brian, and then you say yes, and then you say same for you. I say yes, and then we just move on. So I'm. It's interesting what you're saying here, because it is a different approach that I think could build trust, especially if you handle it right. Okay, so I'm rambling too much. I got a lot of comments coming in. I want to make sure we get these before we close up. Um, Steven says sometimes you have to have the courage to say no. Gwen says be the example. Steven says I've seen studying and training on financial crimes. If you say you're going to do something to raise funds, then do that thing. Oh yes, that's so true. And even risk management, she says, as a question. So even risk management. Well, I'm trying to was he relating that to? I'm trying
Huh,
to
I
figure that
don't see
part
that
out.
one.
Yeah, he says. So yeah, give us a little more background if you don't mind on that one, Stephen. We want to make sure we answer any questions here. So I like that. So you instead of saying I'm doing fine, how are you? You're saying good to see you.
Yeah, anything else. This doesn't have to be good to see you. It could be like just hey. It could be um, hope you have a great day. Anything that's not a question about how are you. Because if you're gonna engage in a conversation, really do it.
Okay.
Otherwise, you shouldn't even pretend.
Do this for me if you don't mind. Give me one example where it kind of opened things up. You did that and it opened something up that you would not have, it would not have opened up had you not done that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so many examples. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, one of my past students sent me an email and said, "Hey, just checking in. I just was going over some materials from your class that we did last year, and I was really it put me in a better mood because I got to see that assignment that we did on the personal vision statement." And I was like, "Oh, well, cool. That's some. You just made my day. Thank you so much for doing that. Tell me how you've been." And she tells me about what she's going through, some of her challenges, and really opens up because I sent her a whole story back on me. And as it turns out,
Okay.
yeah. So now I've been able to, I feel really fortunate to have been able to help her with her resume, help her with her LinkedIn profile and all this other stuff because it opened up in the conversation. I asked her, how is she really doing? So yeah, you got to go deep, got to go deep. If you really care
Yes.
about people, you'll do that.
You just gave me an aha moment now because as you said that, whenever you do give that answer, it's a little bit longer than what they expect. It gives them permission to give a longer answer, and so you're showing by example it's okay for us to give a little more detail. I love that. That was good,
Yeah.
man. Okay, Steven says a positive outlook, even risk management. Oh, okay. So you're saying having a positive outlook is a form of risk management. I think is what he's saying. Is that right? You think so? What
So
do you think
that
about
sounds
that?
pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, me too. Well, this has been awesome. So Brian, if I need a little bit more help with this whole build trust thing, how is it that you can help? Like, what do you do with clients? Or what kind of clients do you normally work with?
Yeah, I work with all kinds of clients, usually senior executives, CEOs, founders, anyone who's really managing employees and they want to get more out of the employee manager relationship. Oftentimes, I think people are well intentioned, but they just don't know how to create a thriving relationship in the workplace. They'll do a bunch of things, but it's not yielding the right results. Or they'll have a performance review with their employees coming up and they just feel nervous about how do I approach this and make them feel like we're growing and developing. I want that for them, but I don't know how to say this stuff, or they're nervous. There's so many things when it comes to building trust at work that I feel really fortunate to do this kind of work, but it has to come from a genuine place inside people's hearts. I don't work well with people who are saying, well, I want to get our trust metrics up because we're about to sell our company. Well, do you care though? I mean, if you care, then I can help. And I want to know why you care, how you care, and what's not working for you. If that's the case, I can really help.
Love that. Okay, so just to clarify, Steven says that what he was asking us, a positive outlook, is that a form of risk management? Do you feel, because he says sometimes only the paranoid survive. So what do you think about that?
Hmm. Well, when it comes to trust, I like to start everybody off with a fresh playing field. If I give someone my trust and they blow it or they whatever something bad happens as a result of that, well, I've learned a genuine life lesson. I can now kind of change what happens. If I give someone my trust and it does work out, great, I've just won a new friend. I think both are win-wins. If you take it the other way and you say, well, I'm not going to trust anyone, I've been hurt in the past and I'm not going to put myself out there, that's just a lose-lose. There's no opportunity. So I think you got to put yourself out there. You have to give that trust. Let people try to reciprocate. Do it with good intentions, and then, man, even if
Okay.
you get burned, it was still worth it. I think.
Okay, so Steven, he comes up with a hashtag cybersecurity. So I think me and you, Brian, we live in the same space from a positive standpoint, but we need to have somebody in our organization that does watch that cybersecurity stuff. That would drive me crazy because I don't want to live there. I want to live on the positive side.
Yeah, cybersecurity is definitely a different story for sure. Um, But again, Rollis, even with cybersecurity, what it comes down to for companies is like, how much cybersecurity do I put? Do I build a fortress around this thing, and it's going to cost me an arm and a leg and 10% of my revenues, or am I going to put this much of a fortress at 1% of my revenues, but we're at risk a little bit? Like, where do you draw the line of this is enough fortress for me? But that same concept works with ourselves. Is like, how much trust do I give? Do I give a little bit and then whatever, or do I put a big fortress around it? And I think in the personal relationships, you got to break that fortress down a bit.
Well, this has been a great discussion. I just want to double check with a couple more folks in our audience and see what they thought of it here. Well, there we go. It was definitely a hit. So thank you very much, Brian. It was amazing today. Folks in the comments, you were amazing. In fact, for the folks in the comments, I want to give you this today because y'all were so highly engaged. Y'all were amazing today. So thank you for what you did. And come back and see us next Monday. It's going to be another Growth Monday. It'll be at 2:00. Joanne will put in the comments who it's going to be. My memory escapes me as to who it's going to be, but it's somebody awesome, just like Brian. Brian's awesome. Brian, I want to have you back on the show. Is that okay?
Yeah. Anytime. I'm always there. Thank you so much, Rollis. Always a pleasure.
Let's say bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Sure.
Have a great day, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And stay on for just a second. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He had to get out of Dodge. Well, guys, thanks a lot. And we'll see you guys again soon. If you want to watch Leah's show, Live with Leah, that's tomorrow at 2 p.m. on the HR Maximizer channel. So feel free and do that. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.